Good morning, students. This is Ajarn John, and today I'm going to talk about the kind of holiday which I like. I'm going to call this motorbike camping, and this involves taking a motorbike and a tent, traveling and camping in wild places. In the picture you can see I was camping in Pecherbury. This is not a campsite though, this is just a piece of forest with no other people around, maybe just a few monkeys, snakes and lizards. The tent you can see is very strong. It is from America and I bought it last year on the internet. It's not really possible to find really good tents in Thailand. If you want a strong tent, you really have to look on the internet. This is what is called a 3-season tent, meaning it's suitable for spring, summer and autumn, but maybe not winter. The 4-season tents, which you can use any time of the year, are designed for western winters, which could be very, very cold, including snow. The kind of tent you may take on Everest, for example. So they're not really needed in Thailand. In fact, because Thailand is so hot, you probably want a fairly light tent, but it still has to be strong enough to withstand heavy rain and strong winds. Because as you know, in Thailand, when we do have a storm, they can be very strong. So I packed the tent and also a nice bed. Because I'm not so young now, I need to have quite a comfortable bed to sleep upon. So all this goes into a big bag and goes into the footwell of the motorbike. Footwell, Footwell. This is the place where you put your feet on a motorbike or in a car. This motorbike is a Yamaha Filano, so it has quite a large space where your feet go, which is great to be able to accommodate a large bag. So what do I like about this kind of traveling? Well, the freedom, I suppose. You have everything you need with you on your motorbike. You can pack some food and water, of course, although in Thailand this is hardly necessary because there are places everywhere to buy food and water. And go wherever you want. Stop and camp more or less wherever you want, although you have to be a little bit careful with people. Two problems here. The first one is curiosity. People will be very interested in what you are doing, so if you want some privacy, you should try to pick a place out of the sight of other people. And the second issue is security. You are quite vulnerable in this situation, so you don't want to attract the attention of bad people. Vulnerable. Actually, there is a third criteria as well. When you're camping, you need to have level ground, and it has to be suitable for the motorbike to be able to get in and out of. One problem in Thailand with motorbikes is if it rains, the ground can become extremely muddy and slippery, which may make it impossible to get the motorbike out. So you should check that the ground is either sandy or not likely to become too slippery if it rains. I have done this kind of travelling all over the world. Some of my students will know about my history, of course, but Motorbike camping I have done in India, Portugal and Spain, but in America, Australia and other parts of Europe I have usually done some kind of vehicle camping. So in America, for example, I spent 3 years traveling around the States in a four-wheel drive. I had my tent and equipment in the back, including a mountain bike on the back of the four-wheel drive, and drove, I think, around 60,000 miles in the States, just about everywhere. The four-wheel drive obviously has advantages in that you don't have to worry so much about getting stuck in muddy ground or soft ground, but the problem is it's quite big and expensive to use. If you have a problem with a four-wheel drive, it can be very difficult and expensive to repair, and also because of its size you can't get into very small places like you can with a motorbike. This kind of motorbike, the Yamaha Falano, is very light, so you can even drag it sideways using just physical force. But if your four-wheel drive breaks down, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to need to try to find a tow truck to help you. And if you're in the middle of a desert or some forest, that may be quite difficult. When I was much younger, I used to do everything on foot. I used to have a backpack and would walk through the mountains. I have done some very long walks in America, Europe, but this was a long time ago and my body is no longer strong enough for such arduous activities. Backpacking traditionally meant traveling in wilderness places carrying all your food and equipment. A bit like you might see the Sherpas in Nepal doing when they are escorting mountaineers. So needless to say, you need to be very strong for this kind of activity. But it does give the ultimate freedom. There are some wonderful walking trails in America. One famous one, for example, is the Pacific Crest Trail, or PCT, Pacific Crest Trail, which runs all the way, I think, from Mexico to Canada on the west coast of America, going through the Sierra Mountains. Obviously there are things you can do on foot which you cannot do with a vehicle. The only method of travelling I have never tried is with a donkey or a horse. I did once read a book by a woman who travelled with her young daughter through the Andes in South America using a donkey. The donkey carried all their equipment, food and water, and the mother and the young daughter, who I think was only 11 years old, could walk quite easily, not having to carry much. The advantages of donkeys, of course, are that they can walk almost anywhere a human being can, so you have a great deal more flexibility in where you can go. The disadvantage, of course, is that you have to feed the donkey, and maybe at least as much as you eat and drink yourself. And furthermore, if the donkey is in a stubborn mood, he may not want to walk. Anyway, there's some of my tales of adventure travelling. And here I am in Thailand now, where I have been, I think this is my 13th year, and still doing it. I'm very lucky to have come to a country where it is possible to do this kind of travelling, and although the weather is often too hot. Last week, some days I thought I was going to die when walking in the forest. It was so hot. It felt like around 40 degrees. But this is much better than the cold weather you will find in Europe and North America. You have to trust me when I tell you that walking in the snow is really not fun. You have to carry so much equipment and wear so much clothing that it becomes a real endurance test. Endurance test. So what kind of holiday do you like, and are you adventurous or are you a kind of 5-star hotel person? I think you can see what kind of person I am. So send me a message. Bye bye.